Hey you, hope you're well. During my spiritual awakening, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So we're going to do something a little different today in this video. I'm going to have story time where I talk about that combination or how I navigated my spiritual awakening and breast cancer and did it together all at the same time. It's story time today on Exploring Spirituality. On March 16th, 2021, I was diagnosed with ER positive, HER2 negative, stage 2A invasive lobular carcinoma, breast cancer. And when I was first diagnosed, it was probably 3 to 6 months after I learned that, oh, I'm having a spiritual awakening. This is what's going on with me. And oh no, breast cancer. My first thought was, I have worked so hard throughout my spiritual awakening, like digging into my triggers and doing the shadow work and overcoming fear and learning to use my voice. There was no way I was going to go backwards. There was no way that I was going to allow this or want to even go backwards in time and return back to the person I was prior to my spiritual awakening. That wasn't an option for me. I knew right away that I was going to follow medical protocol, that I was going to work with surgeons and medical oncologists and all of it. But I was also going to do spiritual healing. I needed to have that balance of medicine and spirituality, spiritual practices, spiritual everything I needed to do it my way. I couldn't just do that plain old scary cancer get treatment kind of thing. I needed to do it spiritually, my way. With that in mind, I leaned into that. I believe it's a Buddhist belief as well as a yogic belief. I am not my body. I am not my mind. I am not my body. I am not my mind. And it helped me compartmentalize. So my body was having cancer. It wasn't happening to me. It wasn't personal. My body was having cancer. I had a medical project on my hands. And I think that's probably when I started calling it my cancer project. Again, it wasn't personal. It was a medical thing. So I met with my surgeon first, and we talked about all the options. And I'm pretty sure I was just like deer in the headlights, listening to everything. But again, I used my spiritual practices to help me out, to remain fully present. I was fully present in that room. And I'm sure I must have seemed like a robot because I wasn't overly emotional. I was present and listening to the instructions and listening to the options because I had only a few weeks to make some really large life-changing decisions. Presence helped me stay in those conversations and navigate this whole cancer thing so much better than I would have if I would have been emotional and reactive. So I was researching reconstruction options, different types of surgery, different types of reconstruction, one breast, two breasts, no breasts, no reconstruction. I started researching everything. One of my referrals that my nurse navigator made was to a plastic surgeon, and I was going to faithfully do this process. So I willingly met with a plastic surgeon to talk about reconstruction. I just wanted to hear all of my options and weigh my decision from an informed perspective. So I met with the plastic surgeon and immediately knew that that was not the plastic surgeon. That was not an option for me. I knew it right away. And I developed anxiety. So I thought, I have anxiety from meeting with a plastic surgeon. Maybe he's not the surgeon. Let me meet with someone else. And I started researching other reconstruction options, and I still had anxiety. Big red flag. Anxiety in my body is a red flag to me that something's not right. So I paused the entire process. I called my nurse navigator and said, I'm pausing everything for 24 hours. I need to do more research to figure out if I'm going to do reconstruction or not, or what I'm going to do. I need time. I need 24 hours. So I shut everything down. Probably I didn't shut anything down other than me. I just gave my time to pause and think and feel. So I was researching reconstruction options. I got anxiety. I stopped everything, paused it, and started researching other options. Because I knew that there were people out there that had had a mastectomy that had not done reconstruction. So I knew that there were prosthetics. So I started researching prosthetics first. But then I kind of stumbled across the flatty community. And they call themselves flatty because they have all had mastectomies with flat closures, which is no reconstruction. That's just what they call it, flat closure. And they are these brave, beautiful souls walking around topless, flatty style, fully embracing it. And I knew those were my people. And the anxiety fell away. A smile grew on my face that I still reflect back. When I think of this, I still have a smile on my face. I knew, based on my physical reaction to all this, that that was my choice. For me, my lifestyle, for what I do and for what I believe in, and for what my body was telling me, I was going to have a double mastectomy, flat closure, no reconstruction. The next day, I called my nurse navigator and told her of my decision. Even now, I can feel it in my body. When I talk about it, my body relaxes. And when I talk about reconstruction and plastic surgery, my body tenses. So even this many months from or out of the situation, I still feel that decision in my body. So, pro tip, listen to your body when making important decisions. Your body knows. Your body knows. Moving along. So we are still in the kind of after diagnosis but before surgery time frame here. It was so busy. Again, I was meeting with lots of doctors and I was running all over town trying to get supplies and the things and the tools and the gadgets and things that I would need post surgery. It was a busy time. And for all my wishing and hoping, I'm going to do my spirituality and do the medical side of it. I'm going to do it all. And I really wanted to go into this surgery rested and well prepared. But I had 3-week window to do all of this, to meet with all the doctors, to make all the choices, to find the right things for me, to get all the tools and supplies and everything. I had weeks, a few weeks. I was exhausted, totally depleted. And suddenly it was the day before surgery. And that's not how I wanted to do surgery. I didn't want to go in totally depleted. It was it was upsetting. Not a little. I'm not going to minimize it. It was upsetting to me. So I decided to kind of do my own thing that night before surgery. We had everything we needed. Everything was stacked up, ready to go, ready to get positioned and laid out and ready for post-surgery. It was my time. It was my time to serve me. And I just wanted to relax and process all this energy that was in my body. So I did my favorite form of self-care, which is a long, hot, salty, lavender-filled bath. And I set the scene with meditation music and candles, and I got in the bath and I started to process. It was my last night with my breasts. We had a talk. They said they knew they were trying to kill me and that it was okay if I had them surgically removed. Don't ask me how that conversation went. It was a conversation. It was an energetic conversation. It was okay for me to move on without them. And I cried. And I didn't cry out of sadness or pity or anger. I cried to release all the energy, all that anxiety and busyness, everything that had been going on for those few weeks in between diagnosis and surgery. I just released it all. I let it go. I let it go into that bathtub. I meditated. I cried. I talked to my breasts. I processed all that emotion and then pulled the plug on that bathtub and let it all drain away. I woke up the next morning and it was the day for surgery. And I was surprisingly calm and relaxed. I had used that hot lavender salty bath to cleanse that energy. And I was ready for surgery. I woke up that morning and I took my last hot shower, washed my hair, did everything that I needed to do because it was the last time I was going to take a shower in a while. And I laid out my pillow system. Talk about that more later. I laid out my pillows. I got my bed ready. I got my meds ready. I got like everything all laid out the way it needed to be. So that after surgery, I could just come home and lay down and be done. So, surgery. Went to the hospital, waited in the waiting room with a couple of other ladies who also had that front closure clothing on. Pretty sure they were also having breast surgery that day. And sent them some energetic love. Got called back into the surgical kind of prep suite. My nurse was so sweet. She took care of every little thing. She brought me the little socks and warmed blankets. She shut off the lights when I was trying to kind of meditate and center and breathe. She just helped make that environment kind of peaceful and relaxing. So that even when there was a last minute change in anesthesiologist, I was peaceful and calm going into my surgery. So peaceful and calm that as I was being wheeled into the surgical room, the surgery suite, the surgery, whatever they call it, the surgery room, I looked around and I noticed that every single surgeon, anesthesiologist, nurse, techs, whoever else was there, were all female. And I was like, yeah, woo, yeah, my all-female team. I was so happy. That was my experience going straight into surgery. My spiritual practices, all the bathing and the purging and the releasing of the energy left me in this beautiful space that I could go into surgery exactly how I wanted to go into surgery, peaceful and calm, even though the prior 3 weeks had been a whirlwind of information and activity and doctor's appointments. It was a beautiful time, even though it was like major cancer surgery, but it was beautiful and I was fine. And I remember waking up in post-op being so excited because I got applesauce. I think I may have looked down. Okay, we're good. Applesauce. Okay, I was a little drugged. I was a lot of drugged, but I was still in that beautiful, peaceful frame of mind. I don't think I would have been there without really leaning into my spiritual practices. So after surgery, I go home. I already had my things laid out. All I had to do was lay down in bed with my beautiful pillow system. More on that later. The next few days were a blur of meds and pain and drainage tubes to drain the fluids from your surgical wounds. And it was awful because, it's after surgery. It's awful. It's awful. But my husband helped me through everything. He kept my med schedule on his phone. He would wake up in the middle of the night to give me my medications, to drain my tubes, to get me up out of bed so I could use the restroom. Like, let's just say I'm grateful to him. I don't know if I would have made it through because I couldn't have done it on my own. I wasn't capable. And sometimes those medical things I don't like. I shy away from. They are not my purpose. They don't suit me. I've never really enjoyed it. No. He was my angel for taking care of me during that time. And I started to heal. And as with every surgery, there is so much pain. And there's one night in particular where I was experiencing excruciating pain. And I was written a script for narcotics, but I refuse narcotics. So no narcotics. I leaned into my spiritual practices again. I learned to breathe through the pain, almost pushing it out with my breath. And I also learned to almost meditate with it, or at least in some way I kind of was able to meditate and escape my body. So I wasn't like in the pain. My body was having pain, but again, I wasn't having pain. I was able to, okay, so let me just explain to you what I did. I got comfortable as I could in this position with pillows jammed all around me to remain in this position. I had my meditation music, I think on an external speaker. Yeah, external speaker, one of those light up external speakers, and it was very near me and very loud. And I breathed, and I did breath work, and I allowed myself to get lost in the music. So music is a big kind of meditation for me. So I leaned into my practices by just losing myself in the music, by breathing through the pain. And that's how I would get through the worst of the worst pain. Those times when it was just breathtaking. And I think that's why it's important to use breath work for pain for me, because it was like breathtaking. But by breathing into it, that heavy out breath was actually like me pushing out the tension and pushing out the pain. it really worked for me. And that's how I kind of managed the pain using my spiritual practices. It was helpful, and I didn't have to use the narcotics. And yes, I was doing like Tylenol and Motrin on the schedule that they gave me, but that doesn't really work for pain for me. So I don't think it was a factor in any way, shape, or form. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the pain would have been worse. I have no idea. I just couldn't do it with those meds alone, and I didn't want to do it with narcotics. And breath work and meditation really helped. Also, like just relaxing my body, keeping my body as relaxed as possible. So much easier said than done, but I think it helped, but I'm not sure. Moving on. I did follow all the care instructions or the care plan that my care team and myself agreed upon. That was important to me. Remember, I wanted to use current medicine with my spiritual practices. I felt I needed both. It's cancer. I'm not going to shortcut that stuff. So you might not know this about breast cancer unless you've actually done it or had someone in your family that's had it. But after surgery, I keep going like this because this is kind of how you are poised after surgery. That's it. So for a long time, I couldn't lift my arms over my head, and that's a requirement for radiation. So we really focused on stretching my arms out and getting ready for radiation. Again, during radiation therapy, I leaned into my spiritual practices. It was definitely present, or at least a bit of a meditation and breath work to get me ready to kind of lay in that machine in a very uncomfortable position with my arms over my head. And yes, this is still after months and months of physical therapy. This is my range of motion right now. Still working on it. I had physical therapy today, so maybe I'm a little tight, but still healing. During radiation treatment, like I said, you have to get into that position and hold still for not very long. I think it's only a minute, maybe 2 minutes while you're actually in the machine. But I'm excruciatingly uncomfortable. I am still in some pain. Again, it's finding presence to stay in the moment, to relax my body, to not twitch, to not move, to be present during the actual treatment was important to me, to listen to commands and instructions from the technicians that were guiding me through this process. And also it's like breath work, laying down and holding still. We practice breath work together, my technician Justin and I. And again, it's just leaning into my spiritual practices helped during radiation. And also during radiation, I wore these 2 bracelets, I think to every single treatment I had. These are both turquoise as support members. That's why I see crystals as support. So still leaning into my spirituality, even through treatment, after surgery, through radiation, and so on. My radiation treatment ended and I felt well still. And then a week later, I was not well. My skin flared and I got blisters and skin damage and sunburns and yuck and still healing. But maybe my favorite thing from the whole radiation experience was my mantra. So while I'm in my uncomfortable position on the machine, getting radiation beams zapped at me, my mantra was, die, cancer, die. It helped. It helped, if for no other reason than to make me powerful, to put me in the power position over the cancer. Die, cancer, die. I just kind of, it whispered throughout my head each time I was laying there getting treatment. Die, cancer, die. put a smile on my face. It still does. Diet cancer. I mean, come on. It's funny. Anyway, so let me back up just a second. It was after surgery, but right before radiation started. And I am not doing well. Energetically, I'm all stuck. Even as I tried to keep my body relaxed and flowing, I couldn't get out of the house to go for a walk. So, and I really didn't feel like leaving or doing a whole lot. So I couldn't get my energy moving. And that's how I move my energy, is by moving my body. And that just wasn't happening. But I was feeling all icky. So I made an appointment with the energy healer. And the night before my energy healing session, I had a series of synchronicities, and there's all these 555s and all this stuff going on. I think I even had a 5-5 countdown, like a 155, 255, 3. I was seeing so many synchronistic numbers that I knew that I had just come out of a dark night of the soul cycle. So while I'm healing from surgery right before radiation, here is another completion of a cycle, and I thought, oh, my spiritual awakening is continuing. That was the first sign that I was still continuing with my spiritual awakening. And it felt so good because I knew that my spiritual awakening hadn't stopped. Energetically, I was not moving backwards. I was still moving forwards. And everything that I was doing leaning into my spiritual practices, it was all working. So that realization was beautiful. So I showed up to the energy healing, and I was like, okay, this is what's happened. I was having a dark night of the soul, but I still want energy healing. So let's do this. And it was interesting. The energy healer said something that I won't ever forget, and that will probably become a video at some point. She said my breast cancer was karma. But listen, not karma in that I deserved it. No, that's kind of not how karma works. It was my karma in that it was a big lesson that I had to learn. It was energy leaving my body. It was a deep lesson that I needed to learn for myself. That's how I perceive that comment. But I know this is like a touchy topic, so definitely another video for another day. So that brings us to today. I am still healing from radiation therapy. Had physical therapy today and spoke about it with my therapist that it can take up to a year to heal from radiation therapy. So I'm nowhere near the end. If that's the timing, it will be August 2022-ish when I'm fully healed from radiation. So my body is going to keep going through some things for a while, and that's okay. So if you're curious, go check out my really, really early videos. I think this is video number 11, which, by the way, I love that number. I'm a life path 11. I love the number 11, so I kind of love that I'm doing this video as number 11. So if you're really curious, go look at a couple of my first videos that I uploaded here. Underneath my blouses, you'll see what looks to be like a little white tank top or something underneath. That is not a tank top. Those are bandages. I was healing from radiation blisters and skin damage and needed some pretty intense bandaging and meds to find my way through that. So if you're curious, you'll see it. I was like, this just looks like a little t-shirt, right? No, yeah. I mean, it looks like it, but those are bandages. I was so motivated to start this channel because I felt like it was part of my purpose. I felt like sharing my story was part of my purpose. I wrote a few articles at elephantjournal.com where I wrote about the cancer and finding out about it. And I've got another piece in my head, and I want to close out that kind of situation. So I'll probably write another article. I also shifted my blog, and that's all I wrote about for 20 blogs. Even these days, I still give cancer journey updates on my blog. I just felt like talking about the process and what I was going through and how I was navigating it gave it purpose. And to me, that's also spirituality, because so many of us, when we're going through awakening, are looking for purpose or our purpose. But by writing about it and now talking about it, that gives my breast cancer diagnosis, my weeks of treatment, my ongoing treatment, purpose. If I can help someone navigate their breast cancer journey, that gives all of this meaning and purpose, and I love that. So that's why I did story time today. So let's review kind of the spiritual practices that I used and when I used them. So I used meditation and breath work for pain. I used breath work and presence for meetings, for pre-surgery, for radiation therapy. I used my mantra for radiation therapy. I used crystals as support. I moved my body as much as I could to move the energies. And I wrote about it and created videos about it for purpose. Don't go away. In each of my videos, I highlight a light worker or someone who I've worked with that really inspires me. And today it's going to be my entire care team. So I wrote this down so I won't forget anybody, so bear with me. So first, I want to highlight Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute at Rose Medical Center in Denver. By choosing the surgery that I chose, I lucked into this Cancer Institute. My entire care team met on Wednesdays to talk about my case and my care, so that every time I walked into another doctor's office, whether it's I didn't even talk about medical oncology, but whether it's my medical oncologist, radiation oncologist, or my physical therapy, my surgeon's office, doesn't matter. Every single one of them have talked about it. They know where I am. And then it just becomes about me, because they've already heard all the stories. They've already heard all the medical bits. And I just got amazing care. So whoever invented this method of treatment or this way of treating people, I love you. I am grateful. I got such great care there. And side note, Sarah Cannon is a woman's name, Sarah Cannon. The Cancer Institute is named by her. Cancer Institute is named for her. Sarah Cannon, for people my age and older, they might remember this. She played Minnie Pearl on Hee Haw. I also want to recognize Dr. Kayla Griffith, my breast cancer surgeon. She specializes in breast cancer surgery, and her and her staff and her team, beautiful. I'm so grateful. My Nurse Navigators. I had 2 Nurse Navigators in this process. I had one through the Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute, and also I had one through my insurance company. Yes, I am privileged. I got great care. I was very fortunate through this whole process. It's true. I also wanted to highlight the surgical nurses at Denver Rose Medical. Whew. I was so grateful to that nurse for making things so comfortable for me. Like, she could feel my vibe. I was doing breath work. I was meditating. She shut off the lights. She brought me the lawn slip socks. She brought me warmed blankets. There are angels there. Healthcare workers are angels. Let me rant for a second. Healthcare workers are angels. Get your vaccine and protect them too. Rant over. I also want to thank Oncology Rehab and my therapist, Laura. She and I have been together probably longer than most of the rest of the people. I see her more frequently than, well, not the radiation team, but I see her more frequently than most of my care team. We have worked so hard to get me stretched out to here. I'm so grateful. More work to do, but I am so grateful to you. Next up on my list is Denver Radiation Oncology. They are my radiation oncology team. My radiation was 16 rounds. I went there every weekday and showed up, hopefully with a smile on my face. I certainly tried to maintain an upbeat approach. They are such kind, loving, generous people. They made that very tiring process just lovely. Lovely. They're just so nice. We had so much fun. Dr. Doran and Denver Radiation Oncology, you're the best. Thank you so much. And last but not at all least, Sleep Again pillows. These were the pillows the pillow system that I was talking about earlier. These pillows were created by breast cancer survivors for anyone having like upper body surgery. It's a whole system of pillows designed to support, protect, put you in position, sleep, to help you sleep. Sleeping is when our body does most of its healing. Sleep is critical. And I've had insomnia most of my life. So to have these pillows and to use these pillows was a godsend. Literally a godsend. Got through this whole thing without crying. I'm not crying from sadness. Not sad. I'm not upset. I'm grateful. And I'm purging that energy still. And I'm grateful to all these people who helped me out. It was a huge team. There were a lot of doctors involved. I already talked about my medical oncologist. I love her. I'm grateful. I'm relieved. I'm healing. Am I cleared? No. But I did this whole cancer thing my way. Followed the doctor's advice, did the surgical option that was right for me, and complied with the medical recommendations. I leaned into my spiritual practices to support me as I made my way through the pain and the discomfort and the busyness and everything that had to go on to get me here. So I'm not crying for sadness. I'm crying for gratitude and relief and joy and release. That's a good thing. If you made it to the end of this video, I am grateful for you too. Thank you for being with me and being a part of this journey. And until the next time on Exploring Spirituality, I love you. Be well.